Good morning. It is Saturday morning, 10:26 a.m. And yes, I am in the shower. I just want to get some thoughts down regarding some videos that I watched. And just to get my thoughts down and for clarity and understanding. I was watching a video with this man discussing about the war and how some of the, well, World War II to be specific, and how you may have people being told one thing in history, about history, and you're taught about certain things, and then someone says, hey, it's not how they teach you. And so with World War II, you have people that were put in concentration camps. And you learn about what they call the Holocaust, the Jewish Holocaust, and that 6 million Jewish people, men, women, and children, were murdered. And this person I'm watching is a professor at a college in the United States, and he's saying that is not the case. Now, if you deny the events of the Holocaust, if you're living in Germany, that they can throw you in jail. Hear that they can actually throw you in jail if you deny the Holocaust ever happened. That is powerful. I make mention of that part because in the United States, well, at least some of the YouTubers that have been airing, videos, they even denying that blacks coming from Africa never happened. And so I can understand the sensitivity of someone denying that a particular event happened to you, like minimize or trivialize some events that happened in your recent history, or relatively recent history. So I have the sensitivity behind someone saying that the Holocaust never happened. But here now, I'm being told by fellow YouTubers that they were always here, and that they're Native American. And I've done videos indicating that there's a difference between black people and what we call Native Americans. That we look totally different from each other. And even with the logic and showing that this can't be, I'm still told that I'm wrong. But then I start to think, okay, what would someone gain? Let's say with World War II, what would someone gain about saying that particular event happened? Well, I'm thinking, okay, you're controlling people's thoughts, what they think, and outcome. Well, what type of outcome would be affected? Well, what outcome would be affected is, okay, if a horrible event happens to you, public sympathy, a nation, say, hey, if this happened to us, we're not safe around these people. We deserve our own state. So that's what eventually happened shortly after the war, World War II. You had people living in Palestine at the time. Okay, then it was known as Palestine. And you had Europeans living there. And they set up a society for them. And then shortly after the end of World War II, they announced that they formed a nation overnight. And I think war broke loose. And I know at least war broke out again in the 1960s, but each time they successfully win. And they occupied the land, which is now called Israel. But why all this? Why do they want this land? This individual who wrote a book about some of the things in history, some events, that there's things behind it, and that the 6 million number that we hear about how many people died, that before World War II happened, he showed clips of news articles from reputable newspapers like the New York Times. And we had people discussing and using, they might use 5 million, 6 million, but the 6 million kept that number. And I thought that was really something. And but he said that the 6 million, the clincher for 6 million, was based on a scripture verse in Leviticus. Leviticus is one of the 5 books in, part of the Torah. And it indicated that, I have to really paraphrase, but that they won't obtain this land unless 6 million don't enter. Projecting that the 6 million is the sacrifice number, and a blood sacrifice. And they base the 6 million regarding the Holocaust on that scripture verse, and to give credit for fulfilling this prophecy, that this prophecy was fulfilled, and thus have acquired this land, which is now called Israel. I was amazed about some of the news articles that he showed. And it was hard to read clearly because it's just kind of hard to believe. But if I really look on those alleged proofs about the number, and he also had something else, this figure, right, I think it was the Nuremberg trials, and they were to ascertain how many people died in this war. And they have a breakdown. I mean, even if one person died, that's awful. No one should have been tortured and killed like that. Don't get me wrong, it's never a good number for how many people died. You don't want anybody dying. But according to this list that was produced during these trials to find out, how many people were killed, and it's nowhere near, it wasn't even in the million. It was in the thousands. Someone really, who to believe? Who to believe? I really want to look closely at these documents. Again, this is Spirit Journey on her journey about what is reality, what is what is your true reality? Are people trying to manipulate the way I think and perceive this world? And in part, I believe, yes. I mean, we're all being influenced by something. So I look at even my life and how you have people trying to convince others that the slave trade didn't happen. You have black people in the United States who are telling people that they are Native Americans, that they were never in Africa, that they're always here at the time of Columbus. And at first I thought maybe it's just semantics. And I really try to clarify where they're coming from. But they seem totally convinced, even though African people and Native Americans look very different, and how Columbus could confuse an African with someone who they said an Indian meaning from Asia. So it's really something. So what is the deal? Then I look at the movie The Truman Show. Now I did discuss about The Truman Show some time ago, and The Truman Show was a movie with the actor Jim Carrey. And in The Truman Show, it was about a man who was being literally followed by a camera from the time of conception to birth, and he was in an artificial world, literally an artificial world and society, and everybody was watching him. But when he was an adult, he started seeing these anomalies. Like one day he's outside, and this thing falls from the sky. It was a light, like a studio light, a real big one. It crashes down on, near him, and that caught his attention. And then he started seeing patterns, like every time, like he wanted to go somewhere, but that wasn't part of the script. See, all thing with The Truman Show was that he was the actor and the star, and everyone watched him in his life. They're being so enamored by this character, and they all know it's fake. But the guy Truman doesn't know that it's fake. But as time goes on, he noticed people starting to act different. Every time when he wanted to do a particular thing that wasn't part of the script, people would come and distract him. But eventually, in the end, he meets the creator of The Truman Show, like a God figure. And you get, how the end is, like he reaches some enlightenment. He leaves the set. Okay? Now, what does that have to do with us now? Well, I think Hollywood, as I mentioned, is really an institution that's telling you something. Are they really your friend or foe? But either way, they're telling you information, and you have to really read in between the lines. Is this just entertainment, or is they're telling you, this is what's happening with you. This is why you're here on this planet. So you have this society, like in Truman's world, that you're being watched and monitored. Every aspect of your life is being monitored. But what if everybody on this planet is Truman? And we watch television, We think we're watching it, we will point and we laugh, we cry, but we're the one that's being monitored. And so like the Truman Show, the people think that they're awake and watching Truman. But what if you're the one that's actually being watched? The watcher who's being watched, and so on, like a fractal. Everything is a part of something else. And you think that you are aware and that you're free, but you yourself could actually be the one that's being monitored and not free. How are we supposed to accept this? How do we get out of this trap? Yet people who claim that they're going and visiting the moon. NASA is sending out these spacecrafts to go to the moon, and then this allegedly happened in the 1960s, I think 1959. But then after that, why don't they continue? It is that successful. They have all these flimsy looking, like when you look at what the spacecraft looked like, that allegedly landed on the moon, it looks fake. It looks like it's made out of aluminum foil. And then you look at these fancy rockets that they're making now, and yet that they can't go even out of the atmosphere. Or they say, oh, we put up a satellite. Why was something that's allegedly so successful in the 1960s and you don't continue? So I'm thinking they might be hiding something. They want you to think something, the possibility. And I was just thinking, like with that, Apollo 11, that they had to cover the bases. When I say they, I mean NASA. They had to cover the base. They want to send out this rocket that we all see go up in space, but they don't want you to see what happens in between. Because maybe, they're not sure whether it's going to make it, and they don't want to look embarrassed because of the Russians. They had a space program, but so what, but either way, maybe that's their logic. They're afraid to, if it's a failure. And so, in case it doesn't make past the Earth's atmosphere, they have this made-up story, this video footage of something that was filmed in a movie studio. But the real rocket is not being filmed once it gets past the clouds, whatever. So you have two things going on. You have video footage that they pretend to be live footage of the rocket going up to the moon. And then you have the actual event that's not being filmed, doing and going someplace. But what if the whole purpose of that particular event was to send up some supplies? What did they put in that spaceship? Maybe it's something that they wanted somebody to have up there. And again, I was told that there are bases, military bases up there, and civilizations that are there from the Nazis. See here again, the triangle, the association with Germany, the war, and civilization. The Nazi program never ended, according to some people. That Hitler did not die in the bunk, and that he was evidence is shown that he was brought over to South America. And they continued their space, their rocketry. For the U.S. got involved at the end of the war, towards the end, and maybe the whole reason why the U.S. got involved, like they used Japan as an excuse. They did something, I think was an embargo against Japan, so they couldn't get oil. And so Japan said, you're blocking us to have trade, so we're going to do war against you. And they did announce it, and the U.S. knew ahead of time, allowed it to happen. So now the U.S. can get involved in the war, because again, the U.S. was in favor of what Germany was doing. And what do you mean when I say that the U.S. was in favor? Well, if you look at the demographics of the United States, that most of the white people living in the United States is of German ancestry. And so that's why we didn't get involved. But here, the U.S. wants technology. They want this technology for whatever reason. And the Germans were advancing technology-wise very quickly. And again, Russia wasn't an enemy at this time, and that's a bad German. So maybe the U.S. wanted to get involved, get to Germany before the Russians get to Germany, and get the technology so they can go to space. Okay, because it seems like it's a race to go to space. Why? So again, World War II happens, Germany allegedly loses the war, the U.S. takes half of Germany and Russia gets the other half of Germany, but the U.S. does bring on board Nazis. Hear that? The U.S. government took Nazis, brought them to the U.S. to work for them. These are allegedly criminals of humanity, against humanity, but they're treated very well. They run the NASA program. Here again, the connections. So you have NASA, and then you have the Apollo 11, run by these Nazis, and then they go somewhere where they don't want you to go. So maybe the Apollo program was really to assist the Germans in a discreet way. No one knows really what happened, because they showed this Hollywood video of allegedly walking on the moon, and it seemed very straightforward to me upon examination of that video with other researchers that at least that footage of the Apollo 11 and the people walking on the moon and having fun, that it was all done on a stage. So again, something went up there. They're not just going to take all this money and have just a rocket go to the clouds and back. Something happened, and I'm thinking there might have been an exchange. Something had to occur, and maybe that's what the real secret is. What was exchanged, and to whom it was exchanged by. And again, the general population does not know about the Project Paperclip and the Nazi soldiers, Nazi scientists being brought to the United States yet. That wasn't really mainstream info. So it's a secret that happened, and then you have the space program. So with this technology, did the U.S. eventually go to the moon? Really? But it seems like, you have all these adventures, and people, for whatever reason, people aren't going back. So something is going on. And again, maybe, you can have people knowing that there's a civilization there, because again, it's a secret about the Germans escaping and forming a colony up there, allegedly forming a colony up there. And so to show the men, the buildings and all that, is going to get the cat out of the bag. And maybe the other probes that they send out, maybe they want to see progress, human curiosity. I mean, I don't know. I mean, all this is all speculation on my part. What could be the reasons now they're hiding it? But I just see that they're planning on trying to have a partial disclosure on what's going on the moon, what's going on in planet Mars. There's something going on, and the probes that take pictures of these planets, you see structures, big structures, and I feel convinced that there is some type of life living on these things. But wouldn't it be something if all that is a lie too? And if even what we see on the moon or on Mars is just a CGI, a computer-generated image? So if all that, it'd be worthwhile to discover what this planet really looks like. What does planet Earth really look like? Some people say it's a round sphere, and some people are suggesting that it's flat. But either way, it seems like there is an obscurification of truth, because they want you to believe something in order to perpetuate a particular lifestyle amongst the people down here. Continuity of the government that we have presently around the world. But you can't keep a secret forever, because people get upset, people talk. So I hope that there is a true disclosure, and that the people on this planet, regardless of their race, that they get this true freedom of happiness from this liberation of deception. So I invite you all to listen to this video, and to comment and to share your thoughts, to share this video with friends and family members, to subscribe, and to give me the thumbs up. Take care and enjoy.